Hello, this is Andres Aya with Aya Percussion, going over reading repair. Now this is something I created for my students this summer to help them with their reading. Let's say you finish your 6th grade year, or maybe it never got resolved, but you went through keyboard training and you're still having trouble with the treble clef and finding the notes quickly, and you're just not quite connecting, keeping your eyes on the music and where you are, and you just get lost. I've created this reading repair to help you identify common patterns and also kind of building that connection between muscle memory on the keyboard and keeping your eyes and using peripheral vision in a very simple way. And we're going to progress through this, and then we have a couple of reading etudes at the end. Some of the habits we get into as young students is we're just trying to survive, and so we're thinking so much about not failing that we just focus on the wrong things. We don't try. We think we're bad at keyboard and we avoid it. This is so we could really dive in and address those issues. So some common mistakes are kids are trying to survive, so they're writing in the notes. That's not really learning how to read, so don't write in the notes. Don't memorize. That's something I did for a long time. I really never got good at mallet reading until about 10th grade, till I started doing things like this. Let's get it over with so we can move on with our percussion career here and get to reading better. So we don't want to memorize. We want to keep our eyes on the music 99% of the time. That tiny percent that you might look down is just a quick check and you're back up to the music, because what we can't do is get lost. The number one thing is you cannot get lost. Okay, your hands might be playing wrong notes and you might be recovering, but you cannot be lost in your music, okay? So keep your eyes on the music. If you don't know where you are, you shouldn't be playing, and you should stop and go back and fix the issue. I'm not doing a top view because it's not about following along with what I'm doing. You need to read yourself and play the right notes yourself. I just want you to see how I look, and you can play along with me and see if you're matching up with me. Okay, first off, it says whole notes and half notes are all rolled. But let's talk about rolls for a second. I want you to play nice and low because we want to hear the yarn on a roll, because we're creating the illusion of a non-rhythm. So we don't really want to hear the articulation of the core of the mallet. So make sure you're loose in the back. Yes, it's from the wrist, but we're going to have some play in the back of our hands and make sure we're playing nice and low. I'm not really worried about roll speed variation. That's where you go fast and then slow, right? I'm not worried about that right now. What I'm trying to do is make sure we're feeling a connection to the instrument so we don't have to feel like we have to find it every time. Now, we're in the key of C for this first one. We're on number 1, key awareness, and it also says shape in there. We're making sure we know the shape of the scale. Now, obviously the C scale has 0 flat, 0 sharp, so it's on the bottom, but we still got to develop that connection and feeling where this is. So I have this at about 100. Okay, the first 4 exercises don't need to be too slow. We'll slow it down when we get to reading. And let's just go through this. Now, obviously we're starting with a stack. As soon as we separate our hands, we can go ahead and get rid of that stack. Obviously we're keeping the C the whole time. So I want you to practice saying the notes as you ascend. So I want you to say the first notes, like C, look ahead, D, look ahead, E, and practice saying the notes when you're playing them. And actually you should be identifying the notes. You have 4 counts to look ahead and find the next note. Okay, so let's say the notes out loud while we're rolling. Make sure when you're reading you know the lowest note and the highest note. This is very simple. Lowest note is C and highest note is C. We're only doing 1 octave for this. And center your stand and your music nice and low so you can use your peripheral vision. We know that C is going to be to the left of the C sharp and D sharp, or the D flat and E flat, to the left down a half step. We know that the F is going to be to the left of the F sharp or G flat. Okay, so use the grouping of 2 and 3 on the top to kind of help you guide where you are peripherally. Okay, eyes on the music. Here we go. Key awareness, number 1, all the way through 2 lines. 1, 2, ready, go. C, D, E, F, look ahead, G, eyes on the music, A, if you need to look down, it's a split second, B, C, next line, go. C, going down, B, identify the notes, look, A, think ahead, what's the note, G, F, stay loose, E, D, C, 2, 3, 4, off. Pretty simple there. If you didn't get that, go back and practice. Make sure you can identify the notes and say it out loud. Okay, maybe even before you play, you make sure you can say those notes out loud. All right, number 2, scale and arpeggio review. Okay, now that we kind of have the shape felt, we're kind of thinking about stepwise motion now. We're just going up one note at a time. We're not skipping anything. And we're thinking about making that stepwise motion very familiar to us. Obviously, we got some half notes to read going up, and we're going to keep our stack as we go up because we're rolling the whole time. We see here we go line, space, line, space, line, space. That means we're doing stepwise motion. When we're doing our arpeggios, this should be a review for your arpeggio, similarly to number 1, where we're feeling where C is, then the third, then the fifth, then the 1. Okay, remember an arpeggio is the first, third, and fifth scale degree of your scale. What does scale degree mean? Well, from the key of C, C is 1. So C is 1, D is 2, E is the third. So we want C and E. F is the fourth, G is the fifth. We want 1, 3, 5, C, E, G. And obviously the top is C again, and that's not a third, it's a fourth at the top. Okay, so we need to be very familiar with that shape and make sure we can read it. You'll notice it will go line, 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 and then octave, octave, line, line, line. If you were in a different octave, it might be space, 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 and then it changes. So we're trying to get used to these things that are going to come back to us. I want you to say all the notes. When we get to the arpeggio, say the notes that are changing, going up the arpeggio or down the arpeggio, and then say the notes when we get to the quarters. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. C, D, E, F, eyes on the music, G, A, B, C, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, C, E, G, C, C, G, E, C, C, E, G, C, C, G, E, C, C. Okay, as you're going up on these rolls, you'll go right hand lead, right hand first, and as you go down, you'll go left lead or whatever you're doing, arpeggio or stepwise motion. All right, number 3, stepwise motion and arpeggios. So stepwise motion again occurs here, but in more of a sequence. Yes, we could memorize this, but I want you to keep your eyes open, okay? What I want you to think is like, if you're looking at number 3 and you're seeing C, D, E, F, you don't have to read 4 notes. You can see that we're starting on C, and then we're going up stepwise motion 4 notes. So you could think C, up, 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 then it changes down a third to D, with D, up, up, up. So really what we're doing is we're seeing a note and stepwise motion, a note and stepwise motion. Now, every measure also goes in stepwise motion because we're just progressing up the scale every 4 notes. C, note, note, note. D, note, note, note. Now, again, that's not so you can memorize it. That's so you can see these patterns because they're going to happen in music. Obviously, in the last 2 measures of the phrase, we go back to arpeggio. So thank goodness we have a half note because it gives us 2 beats to think and read. So take advantage of those half notes and use that, okay? Here we go. Let's give this a shot. 1, 2, ready, go. C, stepwise motion, up, D, up, 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 going up the scale. Keep your eyes on the music. Don't lose track of where you are. Arpeggio, down, read those half notes and look ahead. Up, down, down, down. B, down the scale. A, stepwise motion. G, stepwise motion. Look ahead on these half notes. Look ahead. We're reading up these lines. Okay, if you can't do that, go back and repeat it. Maybe slow it down if you need to. Number 4, thirds. And I also talk about this as lines and spaces. So what I'm saying is thirds, we happen to be starting on leisure line and a line. So those are both lines when we're doing thirds because there's a note in between, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, and we're not playing that note in between. So C and E are a third with this D in between that we're not playing. So that D represents that space. So we have line and line because we skipped a space. Then we go D and F. Now those are space and space. D is a space, F is a space, and that E in the middle is a line. So we're going space, skip a line, space. So you're learning to see when you have 2 lines or 2 spaces that are right next to each other, all that is just thirds where there's a note in between missing. Okay, so we're trying to build that connection here. So I want you to think going up a third. Okay, so we have C, up a third, D, D, up a third, and we're skipping a note in between, right? So we're building that connection, not just in our muscle memory, but seeing it, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, number 4. 1, 2, ready, go. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Gather your thoughts. B, down a third. A, down a third. G, down a third. Look at the music. F, if you're lost, you need to stop. E, C, D, B, C, off. So knowing the shape of the scale, keeping your eye on the music and feeling where it is on the instrument, being aware of your arpeggio, because arpeggios are going to come back, being aware of thirds, that it's line, line, or space, space, looking for stepwise motion sequences. These are all the things that you're going to see when you go to reading. Now let's go ahead and slow it down, and we're going to do number 5. Now that we're equipped with these skills, I want you to just scan through it real quick and see what you see. So just pause the video and just look through it, and then I'll tell you what I see. Are you really pausing? Okay, so if you've unpaused, now let's kind of talk about what I see. I see that we're starting on C, and then I have D, so that's just stepwise motion. I literally did that on number 2, right? Then it resets. We have quarter notes, and all that is a stepwise motion going up the scale. Then I see line, line, line. So I see arpeggios, because I also kind of have my arpeggios memorized. Oh, that's G, E, C. That's a C arpeggio, C, E, G, right? So I'm just going down the arpeggio, and obviously I go up an octave. Okay, I got used to going up an octave on several of these exercises. Then I see space, space, line, line, space, space, line, line, going down stepwise motion. So that's just thirds, and I'm used to moving that, right? Then I have G and a half note, and then I'm going to read. What is that? That's the next line. So that's a third, line to a line, and then I'm going to end on my tonic C. So these are all the things I'm seeing. I'm seeing stepwise motion going up and then going up again. Then I'm seeing down arpeggios, up an octave. Then I'm seeing thirds going down, stepwise motion. Then I'm just going up thirds and half notes and then ending on a C. So I'm taking advantage of all these things that are familiar. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Ready? Say the notes as you play. C, D, C, D, E, F, G, E, C, 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 A, B, G, A, F, G, E, G, B, C, 2, 3, 4, release. All right, look at number 6. Look for common things, pause the video, and then come back to me. Okay, now you've unpaused. So here's what I see. I'm starting on the high C for what we're doing in the etude right now. I see stepwise motion going down, then it goes up stepwise motion, goes down thirds. Then I'm seeing it's doing thirds on a space and thirds on a line with the same kind of notes I just did in measure 2. Then I continue down thirds and I'm playing quarter notes on those thirds and then end on a C, E kind of home bass third right there. Then I'm jumping up to my 4th scale degree F. In measure 5 I have 8 notes on those Fs, and then I'm going down stepwise motion of quarter notes, and then I play a little rhythm on the tonic C, have a rest to look ahead. Then I'm going 8 notes up the scale, up the scale, up the scale, down the scale, and stop. So even though we're doing 8 notes, and that's faster than anything we've done so far, it's not that scary, okay? We still see stepwise motion, or we still see thirds, or we stay on the note, okay? Give it a shot. Ready, go. C, B, A, G, A, here's a third, F, F and A together, third, down, stepwise motion, keep going stepwise motion in thirds, roll. All right, read this, what is that? Down the scale, look ahead, stepwise motion, stepwise motion, stepwise motion, down. Eyes on the music, do not memorize. All right, let's look at number 7. Now we're starting to get some 16th notes. Ooh, scary, not really. Go ahead and pause and look at it for a second. Okay, you've unpaused, and what I see is obviously we're staying on C the whole time and kind of getting a feel for what the 16 notes are. Then what do you see in measure 2? You see stepwise motion 16 notes. That's easy. Up the scale and stop. Okay, 1 E and a 2, 1 T T ta 2. Then I have 8th notes and thirds. Okay, then I'm starting on F and I'm doing stepwise motion again. Stepwise motion up. Then I'm just kind of going back and forth, stepwise motion, back and forth. Then I'm hitting C, and then it's all stepwise motion on the way down the scale. And all right, so this is a lot of stepwise motion and some thirds. Okay, not too bad. 1, 2, ready, number 7. C, 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 C. C up the scale, G, thirds, thirds, down, F, F up the scale here, back and forth, C, down the scale, and stop. Okay, that's not that bad. You should be able to read that. Now, if you have trouble, that's okay. Slow it down a little bit more, or continue working on this every day. This is like taking your vitamins. You can start from the beginning every day, and it's just going to get easier. It's going to be like, yes, I know that's middle C we always start on, and then the next note is D. And I know the first line is E, and then it just goes up. You're just going to start to be very familiar with this, and that's okay. You want to have that confidence. Again, I was doing 1 through 4 at 100, and I did the reading etudes at 60. You could do the reading etudes faster if you're ready, or again, for both, you could go slower if you need that. Make sure you're reading, commit to this. Don't get frustrated. This is time to tackle the issue.